Jason has earlier talked about a little bit of the why behind this. Pastor Jason is a great pastor on our ministry team, but he's also one of the faculty members and program directors for TALI, which is the Leadership Institute. And that kicks off in the fall. And we're excited because people from all around the world have decided that they want to be a part of it. And really my passion, particularly at this season and stage of my life, is to make sure that I am pouring everything out that God has allowed me to gain by sitting at the feet of great leaders, accomplishing a lot in the realm of leadership and business and ministry myself. And my desire is really to pour that out. And so the Leadership Institute is really about equipping and empowering those of you that are leaders, regardless of your sphere of influence. And so because the Leadership Institute really kicks off in the fall, didn't want to wait till then. Many of you were part of our leadership intensive that happened in May, had a lot of positive feedback about that. And many of you decided to be a part of our long-term leadership institute, but said, well, what do we do until September? And that's why we wanted to take this time during the summer to really pour into you and give you some important leadership nuggets as we get prepared for the Institute, but then also things that we really believe will add value to your life right now. And so today I want to talk about a really significant subject. I don't know any leader that hasn't wrestled with this in some way, shape, or form. And this is one of the questions I get all the time. No matter if it's ministry, leadership, or business, no matter where I am in the world, whenever I have one-on-one time with leaders or whenever I'm leading or participating in some kind of leadership roundtable, inevitably, at some point, this question is going to come up. How do I juggle it all? How do I manage my time? I feel like I'm overwhelmed and I just don't know how to get it all done. There are not enough hours in a day. I've heard this over and over and over again. And so today, I want to take the next 30 to 35 minutes or so, and I want to talk about this subject, using time or abusing time, because that's the question. We know that we cannot control time, and I'm going to really explain that in a moment, but you can't create more hours in the day. And so it's really not about finding more time. It's really about whether or not you are using the time that God has given you adequately, or are you abusing time? So as we get ready to jump in, I want to make sure that you get the notes that either were sent to you in an email or that Jason is going to put in the chat box, because one of the things that I'm really adamant about with the Leadership Institute and all of the faculty, myself, Dr. Chan, a host of so many other top tier leaders, we're not only going to give you the information by way of these webinars and these seminars and conferences, but also want to make sure that you have adequate notes, because it's not just about what you receive in these moments. It's also about what you go back and reflect on. So I've taken the time to put these notes together. Make sure you open them up and follow along with me, because there are going to be some things that you get the first time I go through it. There are going to be some things that maybe you'll get if you watch the replay of this webinar. There may be things that you get later if you just take time to reflect and go back over what we're going to go over today. So I want to make sure that you have those notes, that you open those notes up. And I'm excited to talk about this subject, particularly because June is a month that is really important to me, because I do some very significant things by way of time in June. I take some time away from the normal kind of grind of ministry and leadership and business. And I really focus on only a few things by way of how I use my time in June. And the number one thing is the time that I spend with my family. June is also a heavy writing month for me. And so right now I'm midway through the next book that I'm working on. And so I thought it was a great subject matter, not only because it's needed, but also because I'm smack dab in the middle of doing a lot of what I'm going to go over with you by way of using time or abusing time. So if you got your notes, let's jump right in. The first thing you got to know about time is that time is an equal opportunity employer. And what I mean by that is that time affects everybody. Nobody is exempt from whether they use time or abuse time. And the second thing I want you to understand is that lack of time is not the problem. It's lack of direction. So often what you hear is a lot of people say, oh, I just don't have enough time, or man, the day got away from me, or I can't find the time, is what a lot of people say. But the real issue is that it's not about a lack of time, it's a lack of direction. There are so many people that I hear, particularly as leaders, talking about not having the ability to find the time. Many of you have said it, many of you heard it as well. I just can't find the time. And here's the interesting thing about that statement. I don't know about you, but I've never found 20 minutes lying on the sidewalk. Now, I found $20 bills, I found coins lying around, but I've never stumbled across 20 minutes. I've never met anyone who happened to find just 2 weeks of time laying around somewhere. Why? Because it's not possible. It doesn't happen. Time cannot be found. But yet we use that phrase all the time. I just can't find the time. That's impossible. You'll never find the time because time can't be found. Time is created for the things that we want to do. So it's not about a lack of time. It's about a lack of direction. Often when people say, I just can't find the time, or I ran out of time, what they're really alluding to is that they were not conscious enough in planning time around the things that are important to them. I mentioned a moment ago why I do what I do in June, because my family is important to me. Writing is important to me. Time for rest is important to me. And so I don't go through my year saying, well, when I find the time, I'll spend time with my family or I'll rest. No, I create time around the things that are important. And so it's not a lack of time, it's a lack of direction. Here's the third thing that I want you to understand as we open up by talking about thoughts on time. Number 3, time is more valuable than money. Let me tell you why. Because time is irreplaceable. And this is another big thing. There are a lot of individuals who believe that money is the most important commodity in the world. And that's not the case at all. Tell you something that's more important than money, and it's time. As a matter of fact, you don't really pay for things with money. I understand that money is currency. I understand that money is the medium through which we do business. But the real truth is you don't pay for things with money. You pay for them with time. So for an example, people say things like, in 5 years or in 10 years, I would have put enough money away to pay for that vacation house that I want. Or in 2 years, I would have invested enough money so that I can have the down payment on my house. But the truth is, that house or that vacation home or whatever it is that you think you're paying for, the real currency is the time that it takes to get to that place. And so when you say, well, in 5 years, I'll have the money to put aside for the retirement home, then what that means is that home is really going to cost you 5 years of your life, 1/12 of your adult life. So the point that I'm making is what you've got to learn to do is you've got to translate the dollar value of something into the time that it's going to require for you to get there, and then see if it's really worth it. So when you say, in 10 years, I'll be able to do X amount of things, or I'll have enough money in 10 years to do this, what you really want to do is evaluate, is that worth 10 years of your life? Because that's what is more valuable than money itself. Number 4, nothing else distinguishes effective leaders as much as their tender loving care of time. There are a number of people who have great callings to be leaders. There are a number of people who are actually walking the whole journey of being a leader, whether they were called into it, thrust into it, recruited into it. But let me tell you what distinguishes an effective leader from an ineffective leader. It's how they handle time. So I want to take a few moments and I want to talk about characteristics of people who use time correctly. And then I want to go to the other side and I want to talk about characteristics of people who abuse time. Because at the end of this teaching, that's what I really want you to evaluate. Are you using time or are you abusing time? And how you answer that question will determine so much about your leadership effectiveness, your leadership capacity, and even whether or not you're headed in the right direction with the pursuits that you're currently after. So let's talk for a moment about people who use time correctly. I want to give you some characteristics of people who use time correctly. Number one, people who use time correctly do things that advance their overall purpose in life, and this helps them to grow. Let me say that again. People who use time correctly do things that advance their overall purpose in life, and it helps them to grow. One of my favorite quotes that typifies this is from Henry David Thoreau, when he says that one is not born into the world to do everything, but to do something. One of the greatest challenges of leadership, regardless of how you're leading and what sphere you're leading is that you will feel the temptation to want to do everything, particularly when you're passionate about the area where you're leading and serving. Because often what leaders function with is, hey, I see something that needs to be done, and let me just jump right into getting it done. But what you've got to understand is that people who use time correctly understand that what they do has to advance their overall purpose, and this is what helps them to grow. So they can't do everything, but what they do is very intentional. So there are two great days in a person's life, and I always teach on this. What are those two great days? Number one, the day that you were born, and the day that you discover why. And sadly, there are a number of people who celebrate their birthdays, but there aren't enough people who get to the second throng in life when they understand the purpose for which they were born, because God has a unique purpose for all of us. And when you understand that purpose, it gives your life focus, and everything that you do through that lens. One of the things that I often teach people is that in order to be effective, you got to discover really your 3 W's. What are those 3 W's? Your who, your why, and your what. Your who is the core, your identity. Who are you? Your why, though, is your purpose. Why am I here? And your who infuses your why. But then when you understand your who and you understand your why, then it allows your what to be done with skill and with precision. When you know your who and you understand your why, then you're very clear that I'm not called to do everything. I'm called to do this. And when you understand that what, it helps you to use your time more adequately instead of abusing your time. So there are a number of people who often raise this question, help me to get to my why and my what. Some people often say, well, help me, number one, get to my who so that I can get to my why and get to my what. I do a lot in the area of helping you get to your who in my book, The I Factor. So I won't spend a lot of time on that today, but I do want to give you 2 questions that if you answer them correctly will help you get to your why. And that in turn will help you get to your what. 2 big questions to help you discover your purpose. Number one, what have you achieved? And by achieved, I'm talking about competence. What are you competent at? What have you achieved? Take some time to review that in your life, because answering that question is the start of helping you to discover your purpose. The second question is this: what do you care deeply about? And what I mean by that is I'm talking about passion. That's a really, really big thing. And here's something to also recognize. Sometimes your passion is in the area of your frustration. So there are a lot of individuals who get so frustrated about something, and they say, this frustrates me and gets on my nerves, and let me just go someplace else. And they go someplace else and even try to do something, and they're unfulfilled. And the reason why is because what they failed to realize is that part of the reason they were so frustrated about something is because that's the area that they were also passionate about. If you don't care about something, if you're not passionate about it, it won't frustrate you. But the mere fact that you are frustrated is often an indication that that area that is frustrating is also an area of your deep passion. And so these 2 questions, what have you achieved, talking about competence, but then also what do you care deeply about, meaning your passion. If you answer those questions, they will help you to discover your purpose. One quote that has shaped my life that I want to share with you is from a man named Harold Kushner, and he once said this: I believe that it's not dying that people are afraid of. I believe they're afraid of something else. Something more unsettling and more tragic than dying frightens us. We're afraid of never having lived, of coming to the end of our days with the sense that we were never really alive, that we never figured out what life was for. Our souls are not hungry for fame. comfort, wealth, or power. Those rewards create almost as many problems as they solve. Our souls are hungry for meaning, for the sense that we figured out how to live so that our lives matter, so that the world would at least be a little bit different for us having passed through it. That's what purpose is about. And that's what makes the difference. As a matter of fact, as leaders, what you must understand is that you cannot have peak performance without having peak purpose. And that's a big issue because a lot of leaders want to know, how do I get better? How do I do this with more effectiveness? You can't have peak performance without peak purpose, because your purpose is one of the critical indicators of how you can perform effectively. Number two, people who use time wisely do things that underscore their value, and this brings them fulfillment. People who use time correctly do the things that underscore their values, and this brings them fulfillment. What is it that you value as a leader? Do you know the things that you value? And here's the second question. Is your life and is your leadership based and built upon those things that you value? Because when they are, then you begin to live a life not just with purpose, but also with fulfillment. See, once you know what you value, you ultimately will make better use of your time, because what you end up doing and focusing on are the things that you value more than other things. And often this is the case not only individually, but organizationally as well. For an example, vision is the organization's head. The organization's heart, though, is the mission. So when you think about organizational effectiveness, think about the vision. That's the organization's head. The mission is the organization's heart. But the values are the organization's soul. So if you were to come to the worship center at one of our campuses, you would see kind of big signs that communicate our vision, our mission, and our values. And the reason that those signs are front and center and are important, you'd see it even in our worship guide, for an example. We show that to people over and over and over again, because that's not only our head and our heart, but it's our soul. It guides what we do, and it also guides what we don't do. And if you're going to use time effectively, you've got to align your use of time based on the same criteria. There's something that I put in your notes that just shows you what your life can look like when it's aligned based on your values. This is something I learned years ago, and I wanted to share it with you. It says, just for today. So this is a life well lived based on values. Just for today, I will pray, serve, and put Christ first. Just for today, I will choose and display the right attitudes. Just for the day, I will determine and act on important priorities. Just for today, I will know and follow healthy guidelines. Just for today, I will communicate with and care for my family. Just for today, I will practice and develop good thinking. Just for today, I will make and keep proper commitments. Just for today, I will earn and properly manage finances. Just for today, I will deepen and live out my faith. Just for today, I will plan and model generosity. Just for today, I will embrace and practice good values. Just for today, I will seek and experience improvements. And just for today, I will act on these decisions and practice these disciplines. And then one day, I will see the compounding results of a day well lived. This is significant because a lot of us know the destination that we want. We have an idea of where we're trying to go. The problem, though, is that the way we use our time is not aligned with our end goals. But if every day you make a decision to use your time based on your values, those daily decisions over time will compound, and the end result will be the destination that you desire. So there are a lot of individuals who look at leaders, that people look at me and maybe any other leader that you admire. And what's interesting is they want the end result, but they're not willing to do what I or other leaders have done to get there. And one of the things that we have done, and I continue to do, is I continue to make sure that the way I use my time is in accordance with the things that I value. So an example of this is the fact that I value family. I more than anything else, want God to be glorified. I want to be a good son to my Heavenly Father. but I want to be a good husband to my wife, and I want to be a good father to my children. And those are my values. And so me taking the month of June to do what I do and putting my family first and really kind of stepping away from the day-to-day grind is purposeful. Now, I don't do that because I want everybody to appreciate it or for everybody to even like it, because I'm well aware that there are individuals at the worship center that don't like the fact that I do this in June. But I do this because of my values. And it's the end of those values that I'm after. I'm after the fact that at some point when my children leave the house, they're 8 and 9 now, but at some point they'll be 18 and they'll be 25. And I want them to look back on this time and to feel good about the kind of father I was. Because bigger than me being Pastor Van, bigger than me being a best-selling author, what matters to them was my father there. And that's a value for me. And so this is just an example of what I'm doing. I'm doing and using my time in a way that is aligned with what I value. So number 3, people who use their time effectively, number 3, do things that maximize their strengths, and this makes them effective. People who use time correctly do things that maximizes their strengths, and this makes them effective. Samuel Johnson once said that almost every man wastes part of his life in attempts to display qualities which he does not possess, meaning it is a waste of time to try to display or even play up to qualities that are not your strong suit. There's a school of thought out there that says, shore up your weak areas. Statistically, what I believe and what research has revealed is that that's not the best use of your time. If you are a 3 in a particular area and you're an 8 in an area, the greatest use of your time is to try to strengthen the area where you're an 8, maybe go from an 8 to 10 instead of trying to go from a 3 to an 8. So that's what I want you to think about when you use your time. Are you doing the things that maximize the areas where you're strong? Because that's what's going to make you effective. But in order for you to do that, you first have got to identify what are your strengths. Do you know what your strengths are? Do you know the areas of your life where you are unequivocally strong? And this is why in those notes, I created 4 spaces for you to take some time and reflect and to write those things down. And this may be an area that you want to pull in some trusted, close friends, confidants, people that really know you and can really be honest with you. Because what you really want to do is you want to get as close to the accurate assessment of your strength as you possibly can. Because when you know that, then it helps you to understand the areas where you best ought to spend your time. Let me tell you why. Because people don't pay for average. That's just the bottom line. People don't pay for average. When I look to hire individuals, when I look to connect with individuals, what I'm not looking for are whether or not they're average. I'm looking for excellence because that's what I want to invest in. Those are the individuals that I want to connect to. And here's the thing. We're all excellent in a few things. The truth, though, is we're not excellent in everything. No man can be excellent. No woman, no individual can be excellent in all things. My mother used to say, son, you can be a jack of all trades and ultimately be a master of none. And so what are your strengths? You need to know what they are. And then play to your strengths, not your weaknesses, because people don't pay for average. Jim Sundberg used to say, discover your uniqueness and then discipline yourself to develop it. That's really, really important. If you're going to use your time effectively. Let me move on to number 4. People who use their time effectively, who use time and not abuse time. Number 4, do things that increase their happiness. This is a big one. This gives them health. People who use time correctly do things that increase their happiness, and this gives them health. Do you know what it would take for you to be happy? This is a really, really big deal because I know a number of leaders who go through life, and yes, they get status, they get position, they get prestige, they get a whole bunch of the trappings of success, but they're still not happy. Do you know what it would take for you to be happy? And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about a car or even a particular station in life. There's something that people often have that I call destination disease, where they delay their happiness, waiting to get to a certain place or to get a certain thing. And what they find out the hard way are that a lot of those goals are anticlimactic, because you get those things thinking that those things will make you happy, only to realize that no, it was unfulfilling. Was really interesting is social psychologist David Myers studied hundreds of cases on the subject of happiness. And he came up with a list that I want to go over with you based on those surveys that spell happiness in most people's lives. Now, this may not be your list, but I want to challenge you to think about what your list is, because you will never be able to use your time effectively if you don't know what your list is. Because you can not only play to your strengths, but you can't do the things that bring happiness if you don't know what they are. So the social psychologists came up with this list based on hundreds of surveys, and I want to go over it with you, because chances are this may not be your complete list, but chances are there are a number of things on this list that represent happiness for you. Number one was good health. That's a big thing for me. I'm a health nut, and so good health was number one on the list. Number two was it goals that are realistic. That's a big thing for a number of people. Don't just tell me what to do, but give me goals that are realistic, that are measurable, etc. Number three was optimism. Optimism, seeing that the glass is half full instead of being half empty. Number four, a strong, intimate, fulfilling marriage. That's a big one. That's one of the ones on my list. Maybe that's on yours. Number five, faith that results in purpose and hope. That's another big one on my list. Maybe that's on yours as well. Number six is fulfilling friendships. Yes, that's a biggie for me. Number seven is high self-esteem. Number eight is an outgoing nature. And number nine is a balance between rewarding work and productive leisure. So these are just nine of the top things that a social psychologist came up with based on hundreds of surveys that spell happiness in most people's lives. And as I said a moment ago, there may be a few things on this list that really identify with, or you connect with. But if this total list is not yours, that's okay. Come up with your list. I want to go over a couple of comments about happiness, because I think the challenge for many people, particularly as leaders, when you try to define what will make you happy, is that oftentimes we start in the wrong place. So I want to share a couple of things about happiness, so that as you create your list and as you assess the things that will bring happiness in your life, that you assess it based on the right criteria. H. Jackson Brown once said that success is getting what you want, but happiness is liking what you get. And that's so true. You can achieve success without being happy. And there are individuals that are extremely happy that may not, by virtue of your criteria, have accomplished success. But when you want to talk about both of them, success is getting what you want, happiness is liking what you get. Here's another one. Happiness is an inside job. This is so big, because I know so many people and leaders who place their life on hold and their happiness on hold, because they put the ability for them to be happy in the hands of everybody else. And so, when someone doesn't treat you the way you want to be treated, when someone doesn't respond to you the way you want to be responded, people fall apart. There's no joy, there's no happiness, and there's no peace. And it is not someone else's fault. It's your fault, because you put your ability to be happy and have joy and have peace in the hands of somebody else. And you never should have done that. Happiness is an inside job. Peace is an inside job. Number three, the happiest people don't necessarily have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. This is a really significant one, because your happiness should not be determined by happenings. Your happiness shouldn't be determined on what you have or what you don't have, because that's fleeting. Things come and go. But happy people, the happiest people, they don't necessarily have the best of everything, but they know how to make the best of everything. Here's number four. And this is probably the biggest one in my personal opinion. This is why I included it in your notes. And I wish I could say that I came up with this. I didn't. George Bernard Shaw did. But it is so true. Number four is this. He says, we have no more right to consume happiness without producing it. than to consume wealth without producing it. That's so true. I have met a number of people who will consume everybody else's happiness, but then they don't bring anything else to the table. They're parasites in a sense. They will feed off of you, drain you, but then they won't add any value to you. So when you think about happiness, and even when you think about the people that you do life with, you want to think about that. So let me keep going. Number 5, people who use time correctly do things that equip others, and this compounds their productivity. This is really big. This is about deposits versus withdrawals. If your whole life is about you and you never make any deposits in the life of other people, you won't have anything invested from which you can draw from. And people that use their time correctly understand the importance of investing and equipping other people. And the reason that they understand the importance of this is because it compounds their productivity. Let me use me as an example. While my wife and I and 20 other family members had the great honor to help establish the worship center, the worship center and its ministry and our impact is not just because of me. If the worship center was based solely on me, chances are many of you would not have been impacted by the ministry, and the people around the world that are impacted on a weekly basis probably never would have come into contact with the ministry, because there's only so much that I could do. And if it was just based on me or just based on my wife or even just the 20 families that helped to establish the ministry, our level of productivity as a ministry would be exponentially smaller. But because I spend the majority of my time pouring in to our team and pouring into other leaders, even doing what I'm doing now, because that is so valuable to me, you know what will happen? My ultimate productivity will be compounded, because there's so much more that can happen when you invest in others versus when you try to do it yourself. There's a Chinese proverb that says, behind an able man, there are always other able men. And the same thing, behind an able woman are always able men and women. And so the truth is, you can't do it by yourself. And one of the main reasons that a lot of people feel like there's not enough time, I can't get it all done, when I hear that comment, it is a clear indication that you haven't spent your time wisely. And one of the wisest places to spend your time is equipping others, because then your productivity is increased. When I evaluate staff persons, when I'm coming in to coach leaders or coach organizations, and when I sit down with the CEOs of the top leaders, and when I hear them say these things, I'm out of time, I don't have enough time, I can't get it all done, the first thing that I begin to ask them about is, how many people have you discipled? How many people have you equipped? How have you duplicated yourself in the lives of others? And the answer is always the same. Either I haven't, or I haven't done it enough. Well, no wonder why your productivity is down, because you're still trying to do it all yourself. John Maxwell talks a lot about the law of the inner circle. I've spent some significant time teaching for Dr. Maxwell and being a trainer for Equip, his leadership organization. And so the law of the inner circle is not just good conceptually, it's something that I have taught and I've lived by for a long time. And some of you may be familiar with the law of the inner circle. If you're not, it's simply this: those closest to the leader will determine the success level of that leader. This is why it's important that you spend time equipping others, pouring into others, because that circle that is the closest around you will determine the success not only of you as the leader, but also your organization or whatever it is you're called to lead effectively. So one of the questions that I often get is, well, how do I determine who ought to be in my inner circle? I want to give you a couple of qualities, good qualities of inner circle members. Number one, choose people of influence. Look at a person's life. Look at how they operate themselves on a day-to-day basis. Do they have influence? Are people drawn to them? Can they influence individuals currently in a positive way? Number two, are they people of character? That's really important, because ultimately you don't duplicate what you say, you duplicate who you are. Number three, do they have positive attitudes? That's really, really important. One of the worst things that you could have in an inner circle member is somebody that just has a bad attitude. Number four, do they have excellent people skills? Can they talk to people effectively? Can they handle difficult situations with people the right way? Number 5, do they have a proven track record? That's a big one. A lot of people will tell you what they can do, but what's most important is, let's look at the track record. Number 6, are there evident gifts and abilities? Can you see the gifts and abilities in them? Here's a big one. Number 7, are they a team player? Is it about them or is it about the individual? Now, I would use a basketball analogy, but I don't want to offend people that are Cavalier fans. But my family, we're Golden State Warrior fans. And it is not because I prefer LeBron James over this person or this person over LeBron James. But I tell you what I love so much about the Golden State Warriors. I love how unselfish they are as a team, because individuals never win championships. Only teams do. So when you have someone that is just about themselves, they will be a detriment to your organization. Know that. Number 8, are they loyal? Loyalty is important. And then number 9, can they complement your gifts? You want people that will complement you, not compete with you. So I'm almost out of time. Let me see if I can finish. Number 6, people that use time correctly. Number 6, do things that add value to others, and this increases their influence. This is continuing the thought of developing and pouring yourself into others. You increase your influence and you increase your productivity when you equip and when you add value to others. And so a couple of questions that you can add if you are asked, rather, if you are really interested in adding value to other people, if you want to continue to do it, if you feel like, hey, I am doing it, but I want to do it even more. Some questions you can ask. Number 1, what do I have? You want to have an accurate assessment of what you carry, what you have that you can give away that will add value to other people. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about what qualities do you possess that other individuals need. Number one is, what do I have? Number 2 is, what do people need? The people that you're doing life with, the people in your sphere of influence, do you have an adequate assessment of what they need? Because the worst thing you can do is to give someone what you think they need instead of what they really need. Number 3, can I give what they need? Do you have the bandwidth? Do you have the time? And then number 4, do you even have the willingness to do it? Will I give what they need? And then number 5, how often will I give what they need? Because if you're going to add value to people and if you're going to develop people, it is not going to happen in a microwave. It's not going to happen overnight. It is patient work. Think about Jesus for an example. He spent 3 years with the disciples, and arguably many of them were still on the fence of getting it even when he ascended to heaven. They don't really get it until the day of Pentecost in the book of Acts. And so it's patient work, which means you've often got to give what you have, but you've got to give it multiple times. And you can't get frustrated when they don't get it immediately. So those are 6 qualities and 6 characteristics of people who use time correctly. It is not a matter of finding more time. It's whether or not you spend the time that you have wisely. Let me run really quickly through qualities and characteristics of people that abuse time. I want to take a few minutes to do this and then I'll close. I've walked through 6 characteristics of people that use time correctly. Now, let me show you what it looks like when you abuse time and when you do it continually. People that abuse time continually, number 1, do things that other people want them to do. This diminishes their uniqueness. Time is the most valuable coin in your life. But here's the thing. You and only you can determine how that coin will be spent. And you got to be careful that you don't allow other people to spend it for you, because they will. My father used to tell me that failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And as a child, I didn't get that. I got it when I was much older. And basically what he was saying to me is, because you didn't plan and use your time wisely, it doesn't mean that I got to do the same thing. And here's what you got to be careful of. The people with nothing to do usually want to spend their time with you. Isn't it interesting how people who abuse time, don't use their time wisely, got nothing going on? Guess what they want to do? They want to pull you into that world. And you've got to be strong enough to say, no, can't do it. This is the problem with the incessant social media. This is the problem with feeling like you got to answer every phone call. No, you've got to be focused, because if not, you will always be pulled in every direction. And the main things that you need to get done, you won't get done. Number two, people who abuse time continually do things that are not important. This is a big one. This keeps them from being effective. There are a lot of things that may need to be done, but the question is, are they important? Are they critical? All right. It's not enough to be busy. Henry David Thoreau once said, the question is, what are we busy about? You can be busy doing everything and still not get the main things done. So I want to take you through a formula that I've taught people for years about how to prioritize your tasks, because a lot of people have said, I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm so inundated. So let me show you how to make sure that you're not inundated. This is a formula that will help you prioritize your tasks. I do this on a daily basis, a weekly basis. I've been doing this so long that it is kind of mental now. I do the math all in my head. And here's what it looks like. Follow along with me in the notes. Rate the task in terms of importance. So you got a list of things that you got to get done, right? Well, as you are looking at that list, and even as you are making the list, maybe it's a daily list, maybe it's a weekly list, maybe it's a monthly or quarterly list. After the list is made, you want to rate the task in terms of importance. For an example, if it's critical, give it a 5. If it's necessary, a 4. If it's important but not critical or necessary, give it a 3. If it's helpful, give it a 2. If it's marginal, maybe give it a 1. Then you decide how urgent it is. Do I have to do it this month, this quarter, next quarter, or the end of the year? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then what you do is you multiply the rate of importance times the rate of urgency. So for an example, if it's critical and it's a 5 and you need it done by next month, then that's a 4. 5 times 4 is 20. And so then I've given you a scale so you can see the results. Something in the A category would be between 16 and 25 points. Something in the B category would be between 9 and 15 points. Something in the C category would be between 1 to 8 points, meaning total. So A is something that's critical that you need to get done by the end of the month. That goes to the top of the pile. B, a tasks that are important, but you have a little bit more leeway to get them done. Maybe you want to get them done by the end of the quarter. And then C are tasks that are low priorities. If you rate your task and go through this math, it will help you to make sure that the things that are important and critical are being done, and you're not pulled in directions to do things that are needed but are not necessarily important and critical. Number 3, people who continually abuse time, they do things that could be done better by others, and this makes them average. This is a big one. This is one of the struggles I had early on in my leadership, because I am a type A kind of person, because administration is one of my giftings. I would just try to get it all done, right? Because I knew it just needed to be done, but it wasn't the best and highest use of my time. Meaning there are a lot of things that I would jump into doing, but those are things that could have been done by others. And so, yes, I was getting a whole bunch of stuff done, but it was making me average, because the main things that I needed to get done, I didn't devote my full attention to. And so at best, I was average. You want to make sure that you devote your time to the things that are your best and highest use. There are thousands of other things that need to be done, but other people can do them. So you want to be very, very strategic, because if not, you'll be average. And remember, nobody pays for average. We talked about that a moment ago. Nothing has changed by mediocre performance. Number 4, people who abuse time continually do things without good coaching or training. This reduces their potential. You want to make sure that the stuff that you're doing, you have the adequate training and coaching so that you can be the best at what you're doing. This is part of the reason why the Leadership Institute is what it is and why we are offering it to you. This is why we do the leadership intensives twice a year, because what I want to make sure is that you have proper coaching and training, that we are bringing the best and the brightest in those venues to equip and empower you so that you can be effective. And that's critical. It is not what a person has to do or what she's exposed to that makes them significant. It's what they know how to do well. That's the difference. There are a lot of individuals that have a ton of head knowledge. You can begin to talk to them and they say, oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, but the problem is you're not doing it, and you're not doing it effectively. And that's the difference between excellence and average. Let me go on. Number 5, People who abuse time continually do things without thinking. This is a big one. And this causes wasted time and wasted energy. It costs more to repair on the back end than it does to do it right on the front end. I love what John Maxwell wrote in Thinking for a Change. The major difference between achieving people and average people is how they think. And his whole premise of Thinking for a Change came from a great book that was written years ago by James Allen. And James Allen once said, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you, and you're going to be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." It's about your mental real estate. Do you really spend time reflecting and thinking about what you're doing? A lot of us are so busy. We're under what's called the tyranny of the urgent. We're just trying to get it done. And we're just, running around like chickens with our heads cut off, just trying to get it done. And we never critically sometimes spend the time to think through how to do it the best. And so one of the things that you want to do is you want to create a place to think your thoughts. Where do you go to just think? And that's a big concept for some people because we're so busy with doing. But then after you spend time thinking, how do you shape your thoughts? Create a place to shape your thoughts, meaning you want to massage them. You want to shape them. The next thing is, how are you stretching your thoughts? Who are you around? What are you reading to help you to stretch your thoughts, to help you to think on a higher level? When I take the month of June off, not only to write and to spend time with my family, you know what I do? I have a reading list. And so there are books that I'm intentionally reading. And you know what those books are designed to do? Those books are designed to help me stretch my thoughts, for me to think different, to think broader, to think bigger, and then create a place to fly your thoughts. Meaning you want to create opportunities to really give lift off to some of the things that you're thinking about, and then create places to land your thoughts. The bigger the thought, the bigger the idea, the bigger the runway that you need. If you're going to take a plane from Atlanta to Birmingham or from Mississippi to Alabama, it's a small plane, and small planes only require small runways. But if you're going to go from Atlanta to Hawaii or Atlanta to South Africa, you're going to be on a big plane, and a big plane requires a big runway. It's the same thing with your thoughts and your ideas. So I'm almost finished. I'm trying to rush through this. This is a lot, but I wanted to give it all to you. People who abuse their time continually, number 6, do things with the wrong motives. This is a big one. I see this all the time. And this increases conflict with self and others. When your motives are not right, no matter what you try to do, the end result won't be what you want it to do. So let me walk you through an example of this. 2 columns in your notes. People with the right motives versus people with the wrong motives. Let's walk through this quickly. People with the right motives every day are preparing. When you got the right motives, you spend your time preparing. When you have the wrong motives, every day you're repairing. When you have the right motives let you focus on today. But when you have the wrong motives make you focus on yesterday. I know you know people like that. I do. Everything that comes out of their mouth, everything about what they say and what they do is about yesterday. When you're saying, no, what about today? And then what about tomorrow? When you have the right motives, it increases your efficiency. You're more effective because you're not playing the mental games. You're not posturing. You're not wasting time doing all of that other stuff that you have to do when you have the wrong motives. When you have the right motives, it increases your efficiency. When you have the wrong motives, it consumes time. When you have the right motives, it increases confidence because you know that there's nothing to hide. There are no ulterior motives. You're in this for the right reasons. You're doing it with the right motives. But when you have the wrong motives, it breeds discouragement because the people that you come into contact with, when they sense that your motives are wrong, it breeds discouragement. Here's a big one. When you have the right motives, it saves money. But when you have the wrong motives, it increases cost. Because you spend so much money repairing and fixing on the back end instead of doing it right on the front end. When you have the right motives, you pay now for tomorrow. I just referenced that a moment ago. When you have the wrong motives, you know what you're paying for right now? Yesterday. I know so many people who are not as effective as they need to be because they're making the people of today pay for the mistakes that the people of yesterday made. That's good. When you have the right motives, it takes you to a higher level. When you have the wrong motives, guess what? You become an obstacle for growth. So let me tell you something. People who abuse time will never run out of excuses, but they will run out of time. So as I close, let me give you some basic facts on time management. I don't even like that term. Time management is an oxymoron. You can't manage time, but you can use it more effectively. So let me give you some basic facts as I close. Number one, we all waste time. That is undeniable. We all do. Number two, we cannot change time. Number three, we must accept time as the most important resource of mankind. Number four, we cannot increase the quality of our time. Number five, you cannot do everything. Number six, we can only control time. And number seven, we must accept the fact that we're all procrastinators in some way, shape, or form. So the reason I wanted you to look at that on your notes is because facts 1 through 3, that we all waste time, we cannot change time, and we must accept that time is the most important resource of mankind, force us to take the first step in your ability to use time better. And that's analysis. Look at how you are using your time. Are you using it? Are you abusing it? Facts 4 through 5. Number 4, we can increase the quality of time and we cannot do everything. Then takes you to the second step, which is planning and organizing. Because you cannot do everything. Because time is limited, you have to plan and use your time accordingly and organize how you use your time around your values and things that are important. Fact number 6, that we can only control time, takes you to the third step, control. How are you going to control and use the time that God has given you effectively? And fact number 7 keeps before us the worst enemy of all, and that's procrastination. If you don't begin to use time and you continue to abuse time, you will forever be behind the 8 ball. You as a leader will suffer, your organizations will suffer, and you will fail to live the best life that I really believe you're called to live. So these are the facts. What you do with them will determine whether your life is more enjoyable or more miserable. And I'll close with one of my favorite quotes from Leonardo da Vinci. A day well spent brings happy sleep. Isn't that true? When you know that you've used your time the right way, you can lay your head down at night and sleep easy because you know that you used time instead of abused time. So I hope that all of you were as blessed as I was in sharing this information. I know that it will help you. We're recording this. And so there are a number of people who reached out and said, hey, I've got a funeral, or I've got, something else to do. And so will the replay be available? It absolutely will. And once again, this is just a snippet, an example of what you can expect to get from the Leadership Institute. So I want to encourage you, please join the Institute. I know that it's going to add value to your life. We're going to do this again on next month. Jason is going to be sharing. I'll be back with you in August. And then the Leadership Institute kicks off in September. And then also we will have another leadership intensive, which is our 2-day online leadership conference. That'll happen in November. So God bless you guys. Thanks for coming into the comfort of my home. And now I'm going to take my kids to the movies. So God bless you guys. And I'll hand it over to Jason.
Thank you so much, Van. We appreciate it so much. Such powerful teaching, such great notes. And we're so thankful that you'd spend a few minutes with us. I hope those that have joined us today, I hope you got all of those notes. As Pastor Van mentioned, we are going to be sending out, we have been recording this, so we're going to send out a replay link for you. I'm going to make sure the notes are included there just so that you can go back and rewatch, catch anything you missed, and fill those notes out, because this is some very, very powerful teaching. And let me tell you, you are not going to want to miss the things that we're going to be a part of over the next few weeks. Let me click some buttons here in Zoom. There we go, and spotlight our video. Hey, there we go. All right, sorry about that. But listen, you're not going to want to miss what's going on. As you saw in the email, and as Pastor Van mentioned, we're going to do another webinar next month in July, another one in August, and then we're going to have our big leadership intensive that we just did in May. We're going to do it again on November 5 and 6. I'm sorry, it was May 5 and 6. I'm not sure the November date, so I'm just going to stop talking about dates right there. But listen, you're not going to want to miss it. And then this fall, we launch our Advanced Leadership Institute, which Pastor Van hinted at. It's a very, very deep dive in topics such as this. And let me just run through that a little bit for you. I'm going to post a link here in the chat box that takes you right to the landing page for the Advanced Leadership Institute. And I told you at the top and through the top of this webinar and through the chats that we had a special bonus, a special snippet coming for you. So here's what I wanted to let you know. Posted the link for the Advanced Leadership Institute. It's a 10-month program that's really a deep dive into some things that we did just right here with some phenomenal leaders, some of the best leaders that I've had the benefit of sitting under, leaders that Pastor Van is in relationship with, regardless of what area of life that you're leading in, whether it be leading on a team at your job or leading a team or even leading an organization, leading a ministry, whatever area you might be leading in. This Leadership Institute is a 10-month coaching program that's going to help you grow and help you develop your leadership abilities. And for those of you that are interested, you also have the ability to receive a diploma from Van Moody Ministries upon completion. So this is a big time deal. Got some great faculty members. I posted the link. I'm going to post it one more time so it's right there in your chats. This is the link to the Advanced Leadership Institute that's launching this fall. Great faculty members: Dr. Kenneth Ulmer, Dr. Matthew Hester, DeAndre Salter, Dr. Sam Chan, Martine Van Tilboer, Wayne Cheney, Maisha Cheney, Sean Lovejoy, myself, and we've had some new additions. If you were part of our leadership intensive in May, the 2-day conference that we did in May, and you registered via the Advanced Leadership Institute there, we've got some new faculty members that have been added. And so we're very, very excited. If you haven't seen the email, we're very, very excited to let you know that we have added Zakia Larry, who is a marketing and branding and PR. She's just a guru, a genius when it comes to all things branding and marketing. Then we've also added Dr. Nicole LaBeach, who is a master coach and executive coach, so works with some of the greatest leaders around the nation. And so we are being intentional to continue to build this faculty out with some of the best and some of the brightest minds to help you each and every month go through this program and grow and receive all that God wants to do in your life as a leader. Let me give you a quick overview of what the program looks like, and then I'll share the special bonus that we have for you. So the program outline is going to be, it's online learning. It's web-based so that it is readily available in your web browser, on your tablet, on your laptop, whatever device you want to be using. Every month, you'll go through a different module with a faculty member. During the modules, you'll have the ability to learn from and interact with this amazing facility. Sly King and myself are the program directors for the Leadership Institute. You'll also have an opportunity to interact with us throughout the month. We really just want to facilitate a network of like-minded people for throughout the month, engaging in social media through our closed Facebook Live group, through email, through some of the videos that'll be posted for you, some webinars, just some great things. So we build a community of people going on a journey together. There's going to be a book for each module. So you'll have a live session with the teacher, with a faculty member. You'll have a book to read. So there's going to be a whole variable of ways that you're going to learn each and every module. And it's also flexible. So you can set your schedule for the week however you want it to look. Minimal time commitment, 2 to 3 hours a week will get you where you need to go in most cases. And so you can pick the night of the week that works best for you and be a part of this Leadership Institute. So let me tell you the big value bonus that I'm going to give you here. I'm going to post a link in the chat box for registration for those who maybe haven't registered. And here's what I want you to do. If you'll use this promo code, SAVE25, that I just put in the chat feature, if you'll click on the link for registration and use the promo code SAVE25, because you're on this webinar today, we're going to drop the price for you just to continue to make it as convenient for you to get in as possible. So let me tell you what this SAVE25 does. The Leadership Institute that launches in the fall, again, 10 months of what you've just experienced for the last 50 minutes, just great leadership teachings with the best people that we are in relationship with, normally runs on a yearly subscription for a one-time payment for the year is $15.99. You could do monthly payments of $149 for 12 months. However, if you'll use that link I just posted in the chats, You'll go to the Advanced Leadership Institute website, you register, use the promo code SAVE25. That's going to drop your payment by several $100s. That's going to make the one-time annual payment $1199.25, or we'll even let you break that down into 12 monthly payments of $115.69. So use that promo code SAVE25. It's going to save you some big bucks on this leadership intensive that you are not going to want to miss out on. I'm excited to be a part of it as a faculty member and as a program director, guys. I'm probably going to get just as much out of this by being a part of the other 9 modules than I am giving you the module that I'll be teaching during the Leadership Institute. Because let me tell you, these leaders are amazing. And every time I see them, talk to them, spend time with them, I am taking copious notes because they just have such great life experiences. People who have been leaders of organizations, entrepreneurs, leadership coaches, a whole spectrum of backgrounds. And so that's what the great thing about the Leadership Intensive Institute, the Advanced Leadership Institute, is that no matter where you're leading, if God is letting you lead by serving on a team, if God has got you leading a team right now, or even if he's got you leading an organization, or if he's just put a burden or a birth in you to want to create a new organization, want to create a new initiative, we have people in this Leadership Institute that are going to be able to speak to every one of those areas of your life. So we're so excited. And I'm looking at the chat box here. Upon registering for the Leadership Institute, I was given a Facebook address. I had complications getting in. We will make sure you get that. The reason you had complications getting in is we're not actually using that closed Facebook group until the academy or the institute launches in the fall. So the group is out there for you to join. We're just not actively engaging that until the curriculum actually starts, until the first module starts. And as I mentioned a minute ago, so what that's going to look like is you're going to have a webinar much like this that the faculty member will present you the information. We're going to have during the month with the faculty member, we're going to have closed Facebook groups, interaction, Q&A kind of things. So that's what that's going to look like. But we'll make sure if you registered, as we get closer to the launch in the fall, we'll make sure you have all of those communications. So just be watching your email that you registered with. Again, make sure you click the link for registration. Use the promo code. I'm posting them here again. Promo code is SAVE25. You can copy and paste that promo code, and we're going to get you registered. Listen, we're about to jump off here. As Pastor Van mentioned, we are recording this, where I'm going to make sure that you get the replay link for this video. I'm going to make sure that you also get the blank handouts for this, the fill in the blanks, because I know some of you had issues depending on what device you were on in joining, getting those notes, being able to edit that PDF. It's coming in a PDF format. So if you're on an Apple device or a Google device, Android even, you can download a PDF editor, and that will let you fill in the blanks. Or you can go old-fashioned, print it off, fill it out with a pen and paper, and do it that way as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As of right now, there's not an expiration date on the promo code. So, my recommendation is use it in the next couple of weeks. This Leadership Institute, we're trying to accommodate as many people as we possibly can. So just use that over the next couple of weeks. Get signed in, get signed up. We're going to send that replay out to you guys. Thank you so much for joining with us and spending an hour with us from all over the world. We are so gracious that God would send you our way and that you would just spend a few minutes with us. We are eagerly looking forward to July's webinar, which I will be hosting, and I pray that I can be even half of as valuable as Pastor Van was just a minute ago. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, there's a reason I am serving that man with my life, and I'm laying my life to see his ministry move forward, because he is a leader of leaders, and I am learning so much from him and from the other faculty members. So I'm excited to join you in July for my portion of this summer webinar series. So be sure that you check out that email link, register for that July webinar. Use the link I put in the chat box. Register for the Advanced Leadership Institute. I pray God's blessings over you, whatever you're getting into over the rest of these next few weeks until we meet again. I pray that you're prosperous, that you put everything you put your hand to, God would bless and honor and promote you to see his agenda on this earth done, to see his will is in heaven done on this earth. As we step into our leadership roles, I pray that God would just give you favor among men, favor among kings, that every situation you would walk into, you would carry that leadership presence, the heart, the humility of the leadership that Jesus modeled for us, as Pastor Van was mentioning. Let's change this world by serving and leading well. Thank you guys so much again for joining us. God bless you. Love you guys. We'll see you in July for the next summer webinar series for the Advanced Leadership Institute. God bless you.